"I'm going to see my soulmate tonight," she wrote in her diary while dating me. So I packed my bags and left a note. Now her soulmate got her fired and she wants to start over. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. The title is a bit long for a Reddit post, but the sentiment is there. Let's just say I found her diary while grabbing a beer from the fridge, and my entire life turned into a lie in about 3 seconds flat. I had been with Jessica for 5 years. We met in college and spent the last half-decade building our life together brick by brick. I was a graphic designer, a job I loved, and she was a content creator with big dreams of starting her own business. Our one-bedroom apartment was my sanctuary. I had bought most of the furniture, hung the art, and built the bookshelves myself. Every corner was a memory, a testament to the future I thought we were building. I wasn't a thrilling guy, not by her standards. Anyway, I was stable. I worked my job, came home and cooked dinner. I invested my money and planned our weekends around farmers markets and quiet movie nights. I was loyal, maybe to a fault, but it's what she always said she wanted. "I'm tired of drama," she'd say. "I just want someone who's on my team." I was always on her team. I put in the work. I proofreaded her business proposals, handled her website design, and gave her my undivided attention. I loved her unconditionally, or so I thought. The last few months had been weird, though. She was always on her phone, distant. She'd snap at me for no reason, then pretend like nothing happened. I catch her staring at her screen with this secretive, smug smile. And when I asked what was so funny, she'd just say nothing. You wouldn't get it, in a dismissive tone that made me feel like an outsider in my own home. I wrote it off as stress from her new business venture, a vague term she used for a lot of late nights and early morning texts. I came home early from work one Tuesday. I had a nightmare of a day. A client project had gone south and my boss had been a complete jerk. All I wanted was to forget about it, grab a beer, and have a quiet night with the person I loved. I walked into the apartment, dropped my keys on the console table, and headed for the kitchen. That's when I saw it. Sitting on the counter right next to the empty coffee maker was a small leather-bound diary. It was a physical journal, not an app or a note on her phone. She never let me see it, always tucked it away in her nightstand. So the sight of it out in the open was jarring. As I walked past to get to the fridge, the page lay open and one line screamed at me from the middle of the page. My heart stuttered, then felt like it had been punched out of my chest. "I'm going to see my soulmate tonight." I froze. The beer in my hand suddenly felt heavy, an anchor pulling me down into a cold ocean. My eyes scanned the rest of the entry and the words blurred into a single devastating stream of contempt. "I just can't pretend anymore. Mark is fine. He's predictable, reliable, a good guy, but he's so boring. He's a planner, a safe bet. I need a man who lives in the moment, someone with ambition, someone who understands me. I'm so ready for more. Alex is on another level. He's a high-powered consultant. He flies all over the country. He actually gets my potential. Mark just wants to save money and buy a house. He's so small. Alex is my soulmate. I know it." The words weren't a lie. They were the truth she had been hiding. She didn't see me as a partner. I was a stepping stone, a place to rest her feet until she found a bigger, better platform to jump from. The man she'd called boring was the same one who stayed up until 2 a.m. helping her with her website. The same man who put his own savings into a joint account because he trusted her. I felt the shock, the anger, the pain. But more than that, I felt a deep, profound sense of calm. The betrayal was so complete, her words so filled with casual cruelty that there was nothing left to fight for. She had already decided. She had already left. The only thing left to do was to make it real. I put the beer back in the fridge, my hands not shaking at all. I walked to the bedroom, grabbed my small duffel bag, and started to pack a few essentials. A toothbrush, a change of clothes, my laptop. I didn't take any of my clothes that she had bought, any of the books she had given me. I wanted to leave with nothing but what was mine. I took the diary from the counter, closed it, and tucked it into my bag. Then I grabbed a Post-it note, wrote 3 simple words on it, and stuck it to the coffee maker. I know, I walked out the door for the last time. I didn't look back. There was nothing there for me anymore. My world was no longer my home. It was just an apartment I had to get out of. And I drove away without a destination, just an overwhelming sense of finality. The drive was a blur. My mind kept replaying the words from the diary, so small, so boring, just a safe bet. I had spent 5 years of my life trying to be her safe harbor, her team, her partner, and she saw me as a placeholder. The calm I felt earlier solidified into a kind of numbness. My phone rang about an hour later. It was her. The caller ID glowed, a symbol of the life I had just walked away from. I felt a pang, but it wasn't a pang of longing. It was the feeling of a phantom limb. The part of me that cared was gone. I let it ring twice before answering. "Mark, what the hell is this? Where are you?" she screamed, the panic in her voice a stark contrast to her calm contempt from the diary. "I'm out," I said, my voice flat. "What do you mean, out? You just left. What's going on? Is this some kind of sick joke?" "No, it's not. I found your diary, Jessica. You left it on the counter." Silence. A long, agonizing pause. I could hear her breathing on the other end, the sound of her frantic mind racing. I could practically see her sifting through excuses, trying to find one that stuck. You invaded my privacy," she finally stammered, the panic replaced by a forced outrage. "That's unforgivable, Mark. How could you do that? You have no right to read my private thoughts." "I have no right? You're cheating on me, talking about your soulmate who's not small and boring, and you're mad that I found out?" "You wrote that you were going to see him tonight, Jessica. I was just in the way." "It's not what it looks like," she said, her voice now a mix of pleading and righteous indignation. "It was just a journal, a fantasy. I just needed to write out some things to process my feelings. We were in a rut, Mark. You're just so predictable. I'm an artist. I need a man who understands my ambition. Alex is a highly consultant. He's going to help me with my business. He gets my potential. You just want to buy a house in the suburbs and grow a garden." "You already said that," I replied, the words feeling alien in my mouth. "I'm not leaving you for him. I was just exploring my options, my feelings. You should have talked to me if you had a problem with it. You just abandoning me like this is incredibly cruel. You made your choice months ago, Jessica." "The diary just made it official," I said, my voice so calm it sounded like I was talking about the weather. "I wish you both the best. We're done." "Wait, don't you dare do this, Mark. You'll never find someone like me." "I'm one of a kind," she yelled, but I didn't care. I hung up the phone and blocked her number, then blocked her on every social media app we shared. I felt nothing but a quiet, hollow relief. The 5 years we had shared felt like a distant memory, a place I had visited but no longer lived. The next 6 months were a blur of work, exhaustion, and a slow, painful emotional detox. I had crashed with my cousin for a few weeks before finding a small apartment on the other side of the city. I changed my work schedule to avoid any mutual friends, and when they reached out, I kept the details brief. We broke up. It was time. The silence from her was a gift at first. It gave me the space to breathe and to start figuring out who I was without her. I filled my days with work projects, got back into my old hobbies, and started to feel a sense of peace I didn't realize I had lost. I was finally starting to feel human again when I got a text from our mutual friend Sarah. I hadn't seen or heard from her in a while, but she was a good person, so I responded. Her response was a single line that opened a floodgate of information. "Can you believe what happened with Jessica and Alex? She is absolutely losing it." Over a long coffee, Sarah filled me in. It was a perfect, sickeningly ironic story of karma. The high-powered consultant was nothing of the sort. He was a consultant, sure, but he was a third-party contractor hired by her firm for a one-time project. He had been so smooth and confident in his lies that he had managed to steal not only her heart, but her company's entire client list. He hadn't been helping her with her business. He was planning to poach it. When her company found out about the affair and the stolen data, they fired her on the spot. "He used her, Mark," Sarah said, shaking her head. "He told her he was going to launch his own company with her and then ghosted her a week after she got canned. She lost her job, her reputation, everything. It was a cold, hard justice that I had never expected to feel so deeply. Her soulmate had been a con man, and she, the person who called me small and boring, had been the easiest mark of all. The texts and calls started a few weeks after that. They came from numbers I didn't recognize, blocked calls that left voicemails, and burner accounts on social media. She was unblocked on none of them. The progression of her desperation was a story in itself. Attempt 1, the soft launch. A simple text from a number I didn't know. I miss you, we should talk. I didn't respond. Attempt 2, the apology via victimhood. A long text about a week later detailing what a monster Alex was and how she had realized I was the only person who had ever truly cared for her. She never apologized for what she did, only for the consequences she was facing. Attempt 3, the voicemail. I got a blocked call that went to voicemail. I listened to it on my old phone out of morbid curiosity. "Mark, please call me back," she said, her voice choked with tears. "I made a mistake. He was a monster. You were always so good to me. Please just talk to me." The sound of her crying was not a trigger for sympathy, but a powerful, visceral reminder of the freedom I now had. Attempt 4, the in-person assault. She showed up at the office I had just started at a few days after I had posted my new job on LinkedIn. I was coming back from lunch when I saw her at the front desk, looking frazzled and desperate. I turned around and took the stairs to my office, sending a quick message to my boss that I had a personal emergency at the front. She must have seen me because a few minutes later I got a text from a different number. "I know you saw me. Don't be a coward. You owe me a conversation." I smiled to myself, tucked my phone away, and got back to work. I owed her nothing. She was an irrelevant footnote in a story that had just started. A year after that final desperate text from her, my life was unrecognizable. I had moved into a new apartment, a loft on the top floor of an old brick building. The space was open and filled with light, a complete contrast to the cramped one-bedroom I had shared with her. I had built custom bookshelves and filled them with art books, and I had started my own freelance design business that was thriving. I was content, truly and deeply content. To celebrate the milestone, a year of emotional freedom, a year of building something entirely for myself, I decided to host a small housewarming party. It was just a handful of my closest friends, the ones who had been there for me after the breakup. My cousin was there, along with Sarah, who had become a true confidant. We were all laughing, drinking beer, and enjoying the perfect summer night. I felt a sense of peace that I hadn't realized was possible. Just as I was talking to Sarah, there was a knock on the door. It wasn't the kind of knock you'd expect from a friend. It was timid, almost hesitant. I walked over and opened it, and my entire body went still. Standing on my doorstep was Jessica, but it wasn't the Jessica I remembered. The woman standing before me was a ghost of her former self. Her hair was limp, her clothes were rumpled, and her eyes were tired, puffy, and haunted. She looked at me, and her face crumpled. "Mark," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "I know this is out of the blue. I'm so sorry. I know you don't want to see me, but I need to talk to you." The silence that followed felt like an eternity. My friends behind me went quiet. I could feel their collective confusion and tension. I looked at Jessica, and it was like looking at an old photograph of someone I used to know. The emotional connection, the familiarity was gone. "I know what you did," she pleaded, stepping forward as if she expected me to embrace her. "I know you read the note I left at your office. You don't know the full story. He was a monster, Mark. He used me. He stole everything from me. I was so stupid, so naive. But it was just a terrible, terrible mistake. I swear I've realized my mistake." She looked past me into my apartment, and her eyes widened. She saw the new art on the walls, the beautiful furniture, my friends laughing and drinking. She saw the peaceful, successful life she had said was small and boring. The contrast hit her like a punch. "I'm so sorry, Mark," she sobbed. "I was a fool. I know I screwed up, but I'm ready to come home. I'm ready to start over. Please, I've realized you were the one. You were always the one." I looked at her and I felt nothing. No anger, no pity, no longing, just a profound sense of finality. "The person you're looking for isn't here, Jessica. I said, my voice calm, almost emotionless. He doesn't exist anymore. The man who you called small and boring, he died the night he found your diary. You killed him. She flinched as if I had struck her. What are you talking about? It was just a mistake. I'm still here. No, you're not, I said, shaking my head. You see this life, this apartment, this business, this peace? I built this. I built this on the foundation you so generously provided. When you showed me what I was worth, you showed me that my loyalty was a burden, that my stability was a cage, and that I was wasting my potential on someone who didn't believe in it. And for that I am truly grateful. You freed me. Her face was a mask of confusion, her tears slowing as the truth of my words began to sink in. But I'm sorry, I'm here to fix it, she cried. There's nothing to fix. I don't need you to fix me. I don't need you to come back and validate my happiness. My happiness has nothing to do with you, I said, my voice firm and definitive. You wanted a man who lived in the moment, a man who was thrilling, a man who would help you with your ambition. You got him. He showed you exactly who he was. And now you have to live with the consequences of that choice. That's your lesson to learn, not mine. She stared at me, speechless, the full weight of the power reversal finally hitting her. She saw the man she had called small, standing tall, completely at peace, while she was a desperate wreck on his doorstep. The person she had thought was a backup plan was now an entire life she could no longer touch. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. I simply shook my head and, with a finality that felt like a quiet victory, closed the door on her. I walked back into my home, back to my friends, back to the life I had built on her betrayal, a life that was in every conceivable way better. And as I raised my glass with a smile, I knew with absolute certainty that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.